What's up, wild people? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is Alexandria Denise, and this is the result of my 2022 gardening season. Had a lot of ups and downs this year. Not the outcome that I was going for, but some things are just out of your control when you're working with, plants. Sometimes all you have to do is just put them there and let nature take its course. And nature definitely had a different route to go for this year, as the heat and humidity was just crazy. It definitely took a toll on half of my garden. I really wanted to successfully plant some corn this year, which I did, and I'm happy that I planted it around late March, because early last year I got an early start on it, and they ended up just going south really early. So they lasted a good little while, longer than they had lasted in the previous years, and I think I can do something different from next year. Now, I did move them from the trough here over into this raised flower bed that I built here, because corn is a shallow root plant, and even if it is shallow root, it does eat a lot. Like it feeds a lot, so it's a heavy feeding plant. And if I could do something a little differently, I probably would pre-fertilize the soil for next year, and that way the corn, it gets a better start than just putting in some soil and then fertilizing it as it grows. So that's something definitely I can look into for next year. But outside of that, they were catching on pretty well. And in the heat, we then had 102 days, 105 just crazy days here in Georgia, and the humidity doesn't help. On top of that, brings in a lot of pests. Brings in the Japanese beetles, kind of got to me early season and ran amok, and then other little pests. So I tried the whole garlic spray and the cinnamon, and it still kind of wasn't much, but enough to deter them. But eventually it succumbed to the heat a lot. Earlier, what I was doing was watering them in the evening, and then I started researching more about when to water the plants, and turns out mornings actually turned out to be better for the corn, and better for my garden in general, because that moisture isn't sitting on the roots overnight and causing root rot and damage over time. Plus, with the whole process of photosynthesis and the plant making its own food, it can utilize that water through the day, so that it can further absorb the nutrients from the soil. But I'm going to end up uprooting this one from the trough, and I did something different too. I grew some bell peppers. First time growing bell peppers, and it seemed as though that's the pattern. All the plants that I put effort into, they end up failing, but the ones I just throw out there and I'm like, whatever, they ended up doing better. So my tomatoes are always the star of the show. They're heirloom. They, nightshades, they do pretty well, just pretty much in the pots right here. So I think I'm going to leave them alone. But as far as the bell peppers go, I'm going to uproot this corn here, put them in this trough. My blueberries did pretty well, but not that well. I know that's kind of contradicting, but I think the heat kind of did a toll on it when it started getting into those 102 days here and the mugginess. But they were full of fruit, and then they weren't full of fruit, and then some of the fruit survived, but everything was pretty much the same as what I've done, is water everything in the morning, so that they can do their whole process of reaping nutrients from the soil. But I did have one blueberry bush that died, and that one was the one I had for at least about a year or so, and it survived on through the winter, got its chill hours in. But I changed the soil, and I think it just knocked the pH balance out, which was pretty weird, because I put the same soil in both of the pots, and the other one did better than the one that died. So tried to revive it by just taking out that soil, putting in some neutral soil, just rinsing out the roots, and it still just succumbed to whatever illness that it had. And I just got another one, and that one's been doing pretty well. It budded off into another little branch there, but it's probably gonna bear fruit a little later in the year, one more time before the winter sets in, and then after that the leaves go dead. I'll prune it for next year, and have a good harvest there. As far as my strawberries go, kind of gave me a little bit of a scare because strawberries is one of the ones that I don't put too much effort in, and it does pretty well. But this year, still the same. Still the same when it comes to the pests. But at one point, I had it out in the sun full time so that it can further bear fruit, which turns out to be a mistake because I've already known that strawberries do well in partial shade. So about 6 hours of sun a day, 6 to 8 hours of sun, but I had it out in full sun for a minute and it died. So I ended up putting it back here in this pen that I built for the birds, so the birds don't get to it. And it perked back up. Once I watered it, it perked right back up, and they're doing pretty well. My zucchini, I'm so sad. You know, I planted a different variety of zucchini this year and from the previous year, because when I planted that one first, the one that I planted for the previous year, I planted that brand first and it was doing okay, and then it just flopped off. And then I was like, okay, let me change up the brand. So I bought a new brand. It sprouted within a week. I thought it was going to do very well, and it grew very fast, but it didn't really bear a lot of fruit. And this is new soil. I have taken out the soil in all of the troughs. I always change my soil out every year. And yeah, it just pretty much grew and never really produced any fruit. So somewhere down the line, I ended up stunting its growth, or maybe it was the weather. You know, sometimes some things are just out of your control. But so far, I've been giving it feed, giving it water. I even if I was trying the whole organic route this year, you know, I went ahead and got a little bit of that Miracle-Gro, which was okay. It's been keeping them alive, but not enough to where it wants to bear fruit. So kind of disappointed in that this year. You know, that was one of the ones, because it grew so fast, I thought it was going to produce the most, but nope. And for the 2 zucchini that it has produced, the pests got to them. Now, as far as pest control go, like I said, I've tried the whole garlic water, the cinnamon, but they were just ruthless this year. Not sure what's happening with the bugs. Even right now, they're nipping at me, and I'm trying to ignore them, but whatever. You know, but yeah, that's my garden. Oh, I did something else interesting. Last year, I collected some white oak acorn trees, or white oak acorns, and I planted them, and now they have sprouted. Yeah, so I'm over here sprouting white oak acorns. Yay, me. Now, if only I had the land to put it on. No, me. So one day, even tried to do something with the little pollinators. Now, this did well last year too. I really think the heat did a number on the garden this year. But this one, it was a late bloomer, and now that the days are getting a little cooler, they've started to bloom. I have one little flower there, and about 3 little flowers here that's kind of shriveled up a little. But, you know, it's all right. I think the pollinators found something else to do with their time than visit my garden, unlike this dragonfly. But yeah, so that's just the update on the garden. I'm gonna get to moving some things around, so if you want to stay tuned for that, or click over to my next video, then feel free. might ask in the comments section. Last video that I posted about the strawberries, I featured a very special guest, or he featured himself because he just invited himself in the video and I rolled with it. But there was a stray cat, I called him Kitty, and I will have to inform you that Kitty is actually no longer with me. He's actually with his new pet parents in his new home, and he is living his best kitty life. They send me updates every now and then, and they're like, hey, look at what Kitty's doing, and I'm like, huh. So he's very good. He ain't about that life no more, and yeah, he's doing very well for himself. Maybe next time I'll have another little companion on the channel to help me out, that's eager to hang with me. Maybe like a dog, a bird. I don't even know if birds like gardening, but yeah, whatever. You'll know, just stay tuned. I'm not lonely over here, I promise. No, but very happy for that. Sometime in the future I do plan to get a dog, but yeah, we'll get there when we get there.